In case there was any doubt to whether or not Loki would be important to the entire concept of the MCU, I think that show has been answering that by itself. Now let's talk about the fact that within Loki, they revealed exactly how Tobey Maguire's and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man exist in the MCU. So of course, what we are talking about here is the variants that Marvel Studios established. So take a look at a couple of these variants right here. I will mix in the ones they showed, which of course there's some that are quite clearly Tom Hiddleston, and others that are not. These are variants that exist within the timeline, but are played and look and are completely different than the Loki we have in our universe that we're following. Let's just call him Loki Prime for the sake of it. So if you pay attention to what they said right there, in this infinite existence of multiverses and universes being kept in check and various other versions of Loki that can exist, there is infinite versions of him that don't exactly have to be like the one we know. For example, he can just be a Viking. He could just be the actual Loki that looks nothing like Tom Hiddleston. He could be, for all we know, some version in space that is an AI computer, as long as he's a version of Loki. Which brings us to Spider-Man. This same concept explains why exactly, when we get to it, we can have multiple Spider-Men and multiple versions of Spider-Man existing in the multiverse in live action that are all Peter Parker, but that are different. Because they're not a small variation of Peter Parker, that they look the same and there's slight changes. These are more vast changes and vast variations in the multiverse that affected how they look and how their universes exist in their own little corner of the multiverse. So for the sake of convenience, let's just say we get to a live-action Spider-Verse 8 years from now, 10 years from now, and we acknowledge all three of the live-action Spider-Men so far. Then we bring in the 70s, or was it 80s, TV version in live action. Then we bring him in. Well, they're just different versions. At the same time, we could bring in a Tom Holland variant that's only slightly removed from what we know. Maybe instead of having lost his Uncle Ben, he lost Aunt May, and Uncle Ben is the one that's still around. It's still generally played out the same, but it was a swap of who passed away or who died or who got shot or however they handle it. But you get what I'm saying. Small variations, big variations. In the case of Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, they are more radical variations / variants because they look different and come from completely different takes on the Spider-Man mythos and how he exists in the multiverse.